Hello there, my name's Joseph, and welcome to the ASMR Critique. Today I am going to be talking about something that's really near and dear to my heart, something I've been waiting for a very long time. Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.0, Thrice upon a time, the final film in the rebuild of Evangelion tetralogy. I'm going to read my Letterboxd review first off, and then just talk a little bit more about my thoughts. So without further ado, here's my review. So, based on the initial reactions from Japan and the pretty high ratings fans have been giving this film, and the few spoilers that I stumbled upon on the internet just inadvertently, I was hoping at least that Hideaki Anno could have delivered a decent attempt to wrap up his dark, heady, 2.5-decade-long plot and satisfy the fans, if nothing more. But what we actually got out of this astounded me. I mean, this movie knocked my socks clean off. It delivered the perfect kind of ending, the cathartic, healing kind, where everything comes together thematically. Characters are given their due, emotional payoffs feel earned, and the legacy of the groundbreaking series is enhanced, not cheapened, by its existence. This film is exactly what the doctor ordered. Watching this as a long-suffering Evangelion fan was a release that I never knew I needed that deeply. It is as long as a miniseries and covers about as much ground, but for anyone invested in the lore, just flies by. There are so many great revelations in this film, and the way that the world building was thought through, the way it was developed, the way that thematically everything was built upon everything else, it just really came together for me. In terms of technical aspects, it's impeccable. The story, script, animation quality, music, sound mixing, and themes are all top-notch. All of the characters got their due. All of them. My only wish is that they would have gone a little bit easier on the fan service. There's just a few too many moments of just kind of gratuitous fan service. But, I mean, there's some people who live for that, so, I'm not judging. Permit me an analogy. If Neon Genesis Evangelion is an examination of the inner pain and turmoil of a human life, then End of Evangelion is a purifying hell. Rebuilds 1.0 to 3.0 are purgatory, and Thrice upon a time is heaven. This movie is the final chapter in Kentucky Route Zero. It's the ending of Return of the Jedi or Return of the King. It's that feeling of triumph, euphoria, and relief when you finally reach the top of a long, arduous hike. It is peace of mind. It is the reassurance that yes, it was possible for it to end this way. There was indeed an achievable plan all along, and at least in someone's head, it all made sense. And let me just add to that, the view from the top of this hike is incredible. It's amazing. It's like you can look down on the whole rest of the hike, all that journey, all that pain, toil, and suffering that the characters went through, and be like, okay. I think really the key to it all is Shinji's development in this film. Anyway, I'm beyond happy with this conclusion. So even with the problem of Mari here kind of just showing up in the rebuilds with no background or explanation or real character motivation, so I don't really want to get into spoilers, but the Mari problem is somewhat addressed in the film, and whether or not that'll be to your satisfaction is going to depend entirely on what you consider to be appropriate amount of information to be provided. What's going to satisfy you, what's going to justify it. Metatextually, obviously Mari is kind of a self-insert for Mr. Anno's wife. That's fine. I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that. Honestly, there's not a lot of the creative decisions that were made for this film that I can fault it on at all. I really don't have anything negative to say about it. I mean, to me, Thrice Upon a Time makes the final case for the rebuilds being accepted as canon. It is a more than worthy climax, denouement, epilogue, and curtain call for one of the most beloved anime series ever. I love this movie, and I'm so glad that it exists. And I don't just love it because it exists. It actually touched me. I was expecting anywhere between a dumpster fire and a decent conclusion that just, all right. It just seemed to me impossible to wrap up Evangelion in a satisfying manner, given all of the threads and all of the ways that the Rebuild trilogy changed the characters. It just didn't seem to me like it could possibly be satisfying. This film really, really subverted my expectations in a good way. I mean, nothing can take this film away from those in the Eva fan base who actually want an optimistic and happy conclusion. And I totally get it if there's purists who want End of Evangelion to be the end of the series and just be like, okay, this is where it should have ended. This is where he should have stopped. But to me, what the rebuilds add to Evangelion is just like a much needed dose of levity and perspective. Mr. Anno was not in a very good place when he finished the Evangelion series or End of Evangelion. And as much as I love his work, and End of Evangelion is one of my top 10 films of all time, there was this large part of me that just felt like, okay, so there's kind of a ray of hope at the end of Evangelion, but you have to almost stretch to see it, you know what I mean? So much of what happens in that film and in the series in general is just so it's dark. It takes you to this place that it's kind of hard to look at, internally. And that's part of why people love it. And I think some of the best media does do that. Kafka will take you to places that you don't want to have to go to in your head. Sometimes he'll use the absurd to do it, but he'll take you there out of your comfort zone. And that's part of what I like about Anno's work. The main themes of Thrice Upon a Time are really clear. It's about individual growth and learning to live with others, as paradoxical as it sounds and as difficult as it can be at times. Just being able to be with others and not running away from the world. I think it's an essential message, and it's one that some people could really stand to benefit from. I myself, I was really in my head when I was younger. I was an introverted person. I had dark thoughts all the time, and, I just didn't have much motivation in life. Then a tragedy struck my family. Well, I mean, before that, I was already kind of coming out of my shell a little bit more and realizing that, I can live like this, but it's not really going to take me anywhere. I have to start to get my act together and realize that, yeah, I don't live in a vacuum. I can't always have what I want, and it's better that way. If all you do is what you want to do, then you're spoiled for choice. And when you're spoiled for choice all the time, you get fussy and antsy. It's not the default state of mind. This is why you see so many people who are, quote unquote privileged and miserable. They've got all this time and money and they don't know what to do with it. They've lost the plot, so to speak, in life. They go stir crazy. They have cabin fever. There's all sorts of terms. And Gendo Ikari, his character in the later part of this film is explored in a way that I had always hoped for, but we never got to see. And I was just thinking, let's learn about Gendo. He's the big mystery in all this. Why is he doing this? I guess you learn a little bit more about Fuyutsuki in 3.0, just a tad, but it's enough. And afterwards, I was just like, please give us a little more of Gendo. And this film delivered on it. It delivered on the Shinji and Gendo relationship is actually explored to my satisfaction, I would say. Again, I'm trying to be really careful not to spoil too much. Shinji himself goes through a lot in this film when it starts out. I hope I'm not spoiling too much just by saying that he is basically catatonic. It's just unable to process anything. And it's really interesting seeing how the other characters kind of adapt to that and how all of them are concerned for his well-being and try to help him. Kensuke, for instance, probably understands him the best, himself being kind of a huge otaku, which, man, I was so glad to see Kensuke getting full-on represented in this film, okay? I am just a total dork, and Kensuke was the male character I could relate to while watching the original series. So seeing him turn into this badass survivalist and stepping up for everybody in Village 3 was incredible. It's just incredible to see. This film is about the triumph of the human spirit in the most difficult of conditions, in the most trying of times. I really couldn't be happier with it, honestly. I'm just really glad that Anno didn't drop the ball after all these years. I wish I could say that it was completely perfect 100%, but I'm going to probably have to watch it again a few times before I can really say that. One of the things that it doesn't bother me that much, but some people are not going to be happy with the CGI that was used in the action scenes, the way it's blended with the animation. I'm not too bothered by it. I would kind of say the one thing that I might have done differently with the action is instead of having them fight a whole bunch of targets, I would have had them focus on like maybe several really difficult ones. Just mowing down mobs does not really make for the most compelling action sequences. Anyway, this film is like chock full of action. There is no shortage of it, so no issues here. Man, I don't really have anything else to say. I'm just so happy. Like, the saga's over. Now we can just enjoy the whole darn thing. Maybe Anno will flesh out some of what happened in the intervening 14 years. That would be cool. But if nothing related to Evangelion is ever made again, I wouldn't be too disappointed. I think the series ended on the perfect note. I think he struck all the right chords. Anyway, I'm going to have to sit with this one and think it over, but the feeling I've got right now is relief. Well, relief, happiness, and contentedness, and gratitude. Thank you, Anno. Thank you, Studio Khara. Thank you to everyone involved in making this film, even though it took forever. All right. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll catch you next time.